Hi, this is pre-video Blunty coming back from the editing. Turns out there was a weird little setting that I forgot to turn off in one of the ways I was recording this video, which means you're going to see a little mouse cursor bouncing around the screen from time to time. It's just a result of the way in which I recorded this. I know it's annoying. I'm really sorry for that. Try not to be too distracted for it because, I'm talking about some really interesting stuff here. But yeah, if I'm just sorry, it's really distracting, and I'm so sorry about that. I'll do better next time, I promise. Hello again, I am Blunty, and I was a pretty early adopter of VR, and I have gone through about half a dozen different headsets and variant implementations of VR, and a couple of, well, limited attempts at AR as well over the last decade or so. In fact, this year marks a decade since I got hands-on with the prototype test unit of what would become the Oculus Rift. Sadly, a more mainstream adoption of VR has still yet to happen in a way that I was hoping for over the last few years as this technology matures into ever more consumer-friendly formats. And while HTC and Meta, formerly Oculus, are both currently focused on high-end, expensive VR headsets, and with a recent price hike on the very popular Quest 2 headset, the one I'm using right now, as a matter of fact, significantly slowing down its growth, and even Oculus's own founder and gaming industry legend, John Carmack, calling it quits on even working as an advisor with the company he built, that would be Oculus, and idiotically and rather short-sightedly sold to the monstrous Facebook corporate entity, ruining everything for all of us. Yeah, it's a bit hyperbole, but I wasn't a fan of that choice. But it is due for another thrust into the public mindset in about 6 weeks' time, with Sony launching the horrifically overpriced PlayStation VR 2. The original PSVR was crap. It had terrible controllers, and by a wide margin, the worst in the industry, as a matter of fact, in every respect, from tracking accuracy to reliability to ergonomics. The OG PSVR also had the worst native frame rate, relying on software trickery, like the reprojection of already rendered frames to fake a frame rate that would make you motion sick instantly. It also had the poorest screens and the shittiest lenses of any of its contemporaries, and even its hookups and cables to connect it to a PlayStation was a clumsy workaround because it wasn't designed for it in the first place. But it had the advantage that consoles themselves have. It was an out-of-box, consistent experience for every consumer. Unlike the PC-based VR solutions, everyone got the same experience, and developers could more easily optimize for their software and experiences. The Oculus, now Meta, Quest 2 has the same advantages. In its standalone mode, it's a VR console, basically. Standard hardware, standard software, standard configuration, and standard controllers, and even cable-free. And the hardware is good. Decent battery life, okay performance for casual VR stuff, and the controllers and room scale tracking are both pretty damn good. It'll even track your hands for completely controller-free use, although unfortunately not in PC mode, which is what I'm in at the moment. Maybe I'll cut in a little bit of the standalone mode where it does do full hand tracking with VR chat and applications like it. Not bad for what is essentially a couple of generations old mobile phone technology jammed into a headset. But back on the PSVR, the point of this video, its ground-up design and comprehensive rethink of how and why Sony did what they did, not a hack-together Me Too bandwagon jumping products like the original was. And this means hopes, for some at least, ride high on the PSVR 2 being a clean, crisp, elegant next-gen solution that will bring VR back into more common relevancy again. Sony advertised the PSVR 2 as having stunningly vibrant 4K HDR visuals, which is not true, by the way. The screens are 2000 by 2040 per eye. That's 4.8 megapixels, while standard 4K at 3840 by 2160 is 8.3 megapixels. The lie is a half-truth because it's 2000 by 2040 per eye, which does not in any way result in you seeing an image with the same apparent resolution as a 4K display, because that's not how any of this works. Each eye is only getting 4.8 megapixels. That doesn't magically add up to a resolution of 8.3 in your brain. You're not seeing 4K's worth of detail. That's not how it works. But it is just technically true enough for them to not fall afoul of false advertising laws and the like, because the screens do add up to a 4K kind of resolution when you do think about it combined like that, which is, again, not how you see it through the lenses. You're not seeing a 4K image in any sense of the word. Sony are at least not the only ones in the VR space to do this. In fact, most of them add up their resolution to kind of lie about the, give you a false impression of what you will be seeing. Sony also claim, in their words, a vast 110-degree field of view. Yeah, 110 degrees is not vast. To try and give you an idea of my peripheral vision, my normal peripheral vision is slightly better than 20/20, so, out here to the sides. Around about here is where I see my hands in VR here, and this headset I'm wearing does have a field of view just shy of 110 degrees. So yeah, not vast and not even close to being an advancement of VR in any way. Something important Sony has done, though, is include eye tracking technology, which can be used so only the parts of the image you're actively looking at are rendered in full res, while parts of your peripheral, the stuff you're not focused on, can be scaled back resolution-wise. This is called foveated rendering and can mean significant boosts in performance, as you might imagine, when the whole scene isn't being rendered at full res at all times. The controllers, while fancy, don't really do anything existing VR controllers haven't been doing for years now, including a very basic form of finger detection, which is what I'm using here to do these various signs and things. Of course, two controllers can tell when my hands are hovering over a button but not pressing the button necessarily, so in VR chat it's preset to do a range of preset expressions. But there is the exception of Sony's own flavour of haptic feedback in their adaptive triggers, which, while I find it more distracting than immersive on the standard PS5 controller in normal games, I can see it being a real valuable thing in VR where immersion is more direct. I mean, you're reaching out and touching things, and if you pull the trigger to grab something, you're going to feel the trigger resist, and it can help get that emotion better in a more significant and a more natural way than just having the triggers, strain a bit when you're firing a weapon in a regular 2D game on a screen, which adds nothing to the game for me personally. It also has inside-out tracking, meaning there's cameras on the headset itself that track relative movement to its environment and also track the controllers, as opposed to a separate camera on the outside tracking your movement through space from an outside point of view. Again, nothing new, but much better than how the OG PSVR did things, and pretty much identical to how every other headset on the market does things at the moment. So that all sounds fantastic, right? What could the catch possibly be? Well, it's probably going to have a very low adoption rate because the headset costs as much as the PS5 does, all on its own, and it only works with the PS5, and it doesn't support older PSVR games at all in any kind of backwards compatibility mode of any kind, so you'll have zero of your existing library to play if you had already invested in the older PSVR and sort of invested your time and money and effort there. None of that works anymore. All of it's useless. All of it's gone. I'm certain the PSVR will review quite well, especially from Sony's usual collection of carefully hand-picked reviewers, which never trust them, by the way. Sony has a long history of completely blackballing journalists and reviewers, influencers who don't dogmatically toe the company line and deliver the right messaging. So anyone who does work with them walks a very thin line of not offending Sony just in case they get cut off from review samples and press releases and all that kind of stuff. It's skeevy, and it means you will never, ever, should never, ever trust anyone who gets early access to Sony exclusive stuff, because they've been handpicked by Sony because they play nice, because they say the right things, and they're not critical in any way. But independent reviews, I'm still sure it will review well. The hardware seems solid, it seems well thought out, and the new controllers seem genuinely terrific from both a function and ergonomic point of view. But with an inherently limited software selection, an obnoxious price that only enthusiasts will be able to justify, and even then, people with that kind of disposable income would be far better off investing in one of the existing PC VR solutions anyway, so it's only the enthusiasts who are already invested in VR and are curious to what this thing is going to be doing about, and say, for example, content creators who might get it just to make some videos about it, but don't actually need it, they're just spending the money for content, not for actual purposes of using the damn thing. Mostly I don't expect it to be a sales hit, is what I'm saying. But Sony are at least strong on marketing, and so they'll be using some of their exclusive IPs to push it, like Horizon. So it will at least push VR into public conversation again, and that is the interesting part about all of this for me, mostly. I won't be reviewing it. I burned my bridge with Sony PR a long time ago when I lost my temper at some especially arrogant bullshit they tried to pull on me. And I'm not a guy who puts up with that. I'm happy to burn that bridge just to not deal with that kind of bullshit anymore. Hi Sony, you watching? And there is just zero way I can afford it right now, or even justify saving for it, at least, even for the sake of content. I just can't justify putting money aside for that kind of price, for that kind of product, when I just don't, I don't need it, you know, for regular use. I have excellent PC VR. So, you know, unless I get a very special Easter present, I guess, don't ask for a review. It won't happen here. Again, it'll just be nice to have a more public eye on VR again, because for all the languishing VR has done recently, and only really being a niche enthusiast hobby device, there are some truly interesting products, innovations, experiences going on out there that I've had my eye on, but you know, there's not enough interest out there for me to bother chasing them up or, you know, making videos about them and stuff like that. But with the increased attention on VR that Sony will bring to it with this device, maybe. So, how many of you out there are interested in the PSVR 2? Sound off in the down below there. You know where it is on your way through. Hopefully you've done the subscribe and the bell and the I don't know why YouTubers do that. It doesn't make any difference. Have you ever hit the subscribe or the bell or left or thumb or left a comment just because a YouTuber begged you to? The only way I've ever seen that work is if I put a secret word at the end. Like I did on a thing I did about setting up RAM properly. I said, hey, if you found this helpful, type sausages, or you know, what was it? Tell me what your favorite potato-based snack was, I think it was. That got a few bonus comments. So, hey, here's a question for you. Secret end of the question video. End of the question? Secret end of the video question. If you could convert any of your favorite series into a VR game, which one would it be? And don't say Pokemon. So thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time. And thanks, as always, to the patrons scrolling up above there, which, am I gesturing in the right way? Probably. It's up there. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching.